Hello, Masked Emotion family. Today we close another chapter. The ancient Greeks gave us the cave, the good life, and the courage to ask what is real. Today, we go somewhere darker. The existentialists, the philosophers who looked at the world after all the old answers had collapsed and asked the only question that remained. If nothing is given, what do you do with that? Let's begin. Imagine you have to live your life again, not once, infinitely. Every moment, every decision, every loss, every failure, every regret, every night you lay awake, wondering if you chose the right thing, again and again and again, forever. Nietzsche called this the eternal recurrence. And he said, this thought, this single thought, is the heaviest weight a human being can carry. Because if your answer is, I could not live this life again, then you are not really living it now. You are enduring it. You are surviving it. You are waiting for it to be over while it is happening. And that, Nietzsche said, is the one thing he refused to do. This is the story of Friedrich Nietzsche, the most dangerous philosopher in history, who destroyed every comfortable answer the Western world had built itself on, and then asked, with everything burning around him, what are you going to build in its place? Friedrich Nietzsche was born in 1844 in a small village in Prussia. His father, a Lutheran pastor, died of a brain disease when Nietzsche was 5. He grew up surrounded by women, his mother, his sister, his grandmother, in a house shaped by faith, routine, and grief. He was a brilliant student, was appointed professor of classical philology at the University of Basel at 24 years old, before he had even completed his doctorate, the youngest ever. He served in the Franco-Prussian War as a medical orderly. What he saw there, the bodies, the chaos, the complete indifference of reality to human suffering, changed something in him permanently. He became friends with the composer Richard Wagner, one of the most important relationships of his life, and then, publicly, painfully, broke from him, because he could not be a disciple when his instinct told him the man was wrong. His health deteriorated throughout his 40s, migraines, vomiting, near blindness. He wrote in agony, in short bursts, between collapses. And then in 1889 in Turin, he walked out of his apartment and saw a horse being whipped by its driver. He threw his arms around the horse's neck and wept, and did not recover. He spent the last 11 years of his life in a state of complete mental collapse, unable to speak, unable to write, unable to recognize the ideas that had come from his own mind. His sister, Elizabeth, took control of his unpublished work, edited it, distorted it, and handed it to the Nazi movement as philosophical justification for everything Nietzsche had specifically argued against. He was used by the ideology he would have despised most. He never knew. He was already gone, but the ideas remained, and the ideas are the reason we are here. Nietzsche's most famous line, the one most people know, the one most people misunderstand, is this: God is dead. He is not making an argument about religion. He is describing a cultural moment. For centuries, the Western world had organized its values, its morality, its sense of meaning and purpose around a divine framework. God said what was good and what was evil. God gave life its direction. God made suffering meaningful. God guaranteed that if you lived rightly, something somewhere mattered. And then, Nietzsche observed, that framework collapsed, not because of one event, but because of science, enlightenment, the slow accumulation of doubt that left the framework standing, but hollow. People still used the language, still operated by the rules, but the foundation under them had crumbled, and no one had replaced it. God is dead, and we have killed him. Nietzsche wrote that line in 1882. And the question it leaves behind, the question he spent his entire life trying to answer, is, now what? Because here is the terrifying truth. When the old answers die, when the framework collapses, when the thing that told you what was right and wrong and meaningful is no longer there. Most people do not rise to the occasion. They find a smaller God, a political ideology, a social tribe, a comfortable identity, something, anything, to fill the hole and give them back the certainty they can no longer find. Nietzsche called the person who does this the last man. The last man is comfortable. The last man is safe. The last man has found a small, manageable version of life that requires nothing extraordinary from him. He blinks. That is Nietzsche's image. The last man blinks. He does not create. He does not strive. He does not ask what he is capable of. He just continues. Against this, Nietzsche placed his most controversial idea, the Übermensch, usually translated as Superman or Overman, not a racial ideal, not a political figure, nothing like what the Nazis made of it. The Übermensch is the person who, after the collapse of all external meaning, creates their own values, who does not wait for permission, who does not look for a framework to inherit, who faces the void honestly and builds something anyway, not from comfort, not from fear, but from the will to become more than what circumstances made them. He called this the will to power. Not power over other people, power over yourself. The will to grow, the will to overcome, the will to become the best version of what you are, not because someone told you to, but because you chose it. And finally, the eternal recurrence. The thought experiment he used not as a metaphysical claim, but as a test. If you had to live this exact life, this specific combination of choices, relationships, failures, moments, over and over forever, would you be willing? If yes, you are living with amor fati, love of fate. The embrace of your life exactly as it is, so not despite the suffering, but including it. If no, change something. Right now, not tomorrow. Here is what Nietzsche is asking you in the language of your actual life. Are you the last man? Are you living a life that asks nothing extraordinary of you? A life assembled from other people's expectations? The career you were supposed to want? The version of success that was handed to you? The identity you perform because it is easier than building a real one? Most people are, not because they are weak, but because the last man's life is genuinely comfortable. It does not demand, it does not challenge. It does not ask you to face the terrifying question, what would I choose if I were choosing for myself? Nietzsche is not asking you to reject everything. He is not asking you to destroy your life. He is asking you to examine it. With the eternal recurrence as your tool, take one area of your life, just one, that you are enduring rather than choosing. The relationship you stay in because leaving is hard. The career you maintain because starting over is scary. The version of yourself you show the world because the real one feels too risky to reveal. Ask, if this were forever, if this exact configuration of my life repeated without end, would I choose it? If the answer is no, that is not a comfortable feeling. That is information. That is the heaviest weight Nietzsche was talking about. And it is a gift, because the weight means there is still time. The will to power is not about becoming a different person. It is about becoming more fully the person you already are. What is the thing in you that you keep diminishing? Because it doesn't fit the role, because it makes people uncomfortable, because it is too much, too strange, too ambitious, too specific to explain to people who haven't felt it. That thing is your value, the one you were supposed to create, not inherit. Nietzsche's life was painful. His body failed him. His ideas were stolen. His mind collapsed before he could defend himself. And yet, in the work he left, in the writing he did between the migraines and the collapses, you can feel the will, the refusal to settle for the last man's life, the insistence on asking the hardest questions even when the answers were not there. That is amor fati. Not pretending the pain is good, choosing it anyway. Because the alternative, the small, blinking, comfortable life, is the one thing Nietzsche could not survive. He wept over a horse being whipped, A mind that had spent decades dismantling every comfortable illusion the Western world had built, broke open at the sight of an animal in pain. Make of that what you will. The man who told you God was dead, who told you to create your own values, who told you the last man was the greatest danger, could not watch suffering without being destroyed by it. Maybe that is not a contradiction. Maybe that is exactly who he was. A man sensitive enough to feel everything, who built an entire philosophy out of what to do with that. The question he leaves you with is not comfortable. It was never meant to be. Would you live this life again? All of it. Every part you are proud of, and every part that keeps you up at night. If yes, then live it like you mean it. If no, then you already know what needs to change. The eternal recurrence doesn't care about your reasons. It only asks, are you willing? If this video found you at the right moment, go to the comments right now and write one thing: I will not break. That is not a message to me. That is a promise to yourself. And tell this family. Which philosopher should wear the next mask? Drop the name below. If you're new here, this is what we do. Every week, one philosopher, one story, one lesson sharp enough to cut through everything the world throws at you. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Don't miss what's coming. Until next time, wear the mask.